Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing great wherever you're watching from today. In today's video I'm going to show you how to change the auxiliary battery on a Bentley Continental Flying Spur 2012 or similar. Going to want to do is to cover over this, because once we disconnect the battery, if we don't cover over this and we close the trunk, we're into a whole host of problems because the boot won't open without power on this battery. So there is a way to do that, and I'll put a link to a video on how we get into the boot or trunk if you're in America if this battery is disconnected and you close the boot. But for the purpose of doing just a battery change, cover this over. Even if you do try and shut the boot, the trunk, it's not going to be a problem. Right. Tools, we're going to need a 13mm and a 10mm. You can use sockets or spanners. I'm using sockets. First thing we're going to want to do is to undo the terminals. So you've got a negative terminal and a positive terminal here. These are 10mm. I've already undone this one here. This is your negative terminal. I've undone and loosened the positive terminal here. I've also just started to undo the 13mm here, and I've undone the 10mm here. So I'm going to go ahead now and just pull this plastic trim down, and I'm just going to undo this 13mm here. I personally find it much easier to use a ratchet. With this undone, we can place the nut out of the way safely and the spanners out of the way. I'm just going to zoom in and show you how this comes off here. This is your main power feed back into the car. So with this 13mm undone, you can just lift this away. We can wobble this upwards and we can withdraw this out of the way. What this does, it gives us access to another nut which is down at the back down here, which is holding the clamp for the battery. So I'm just going to bring you in a little bit closer so you can see where this is held in. Okay, so just zooming in now. I'm going to try and get to the point where you can see down here we have, just pointing to it, another 13mm. So this you really are going to need to use a socket for, and what we're going to do is put a small extension on there to come up, and then we just need to undo this, and then there's a bracket which you may just about be able to see, it's not very clear, that runs across from here, it becomes loose, and then we'll be able to lift the battery straight out. I'll just set this camera back up so that you've got a better view of me undoing it, and then we can withdraw the battery. There are a few different ways of doing this. We can either use a long extension like this, or a shorter one, or even a combination of shorter ones to get the length. I'm going to try this extension to start with. I'm just going to place this down, and that gives me the height that I want there, and then put the ratchet in, and then undo this as we go. Once we've slackened it, you can do it by hand normally. Once this is all the way out, you can either get pincers down there to pull it out, you could put some blue tack or something similar in here which will grip it to pull it out, or if you've got small enough hands, you can just put your fingers in there and withdraw the bolt. We'll place that safely out of the way. Now the bracket that's holding down the battery needs to be pushed backwards out of the way. So once you've undone that, you rotate the bracket which is leaning this way, you rotate it backwards like this, and that allows you then to be able to pull out the battery. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to actually put myself in the car to do this so I don't twist and hurt my back. And I'm going to pull up the battery, tilt it this way and pull it out. There you go guys, tilt it backwards. Now I can lift this battery up, take it away. Now it's always a good idea, once you've got this out, to have a good inspection in here and make sure there's been no leakage from the battery. Now I can tell you there isn't, which is good. And you get a good look at this bracket now that holds it down. So I'm going to bring you in while the battery's out so you can see this bracket better. So now we've got a good clear look. This is the bracket that holds the battery down, and the bolt just goes straight through there into where that thread is. And what we did was rotated that up out of the way. And then we could pull the battery out. Now this is looking fairly clean in here, so no issues that I can see with any battery leakage. So we're good to go ahead and replace the battery with this AGM 019. It's a stop start battery, which will do just fine for replacing the one we've taken out. The one we've taken out is a Varta. It's a G14, 95 amp hour, 850 amps on that. And on this one, what have we got? We've got 850 amps and 92 amp hour, so fairly equivalent on the capacity, and it's the same size battery, so it'll fit fine. The negative terminal is still to the left and the positive to the right. Let's make sure all the time we keep this over here. I've realised I've just moved that, my bad. I don't want this boot to shut, so let's go ahead now and do the same thing to put the battery in. I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to use this to lift it up. I'm going to tilt the battery and slide it into position. There we go guys, no trouble at all. That battery's in. Zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. All we need to do now is a reverse process, so we're going to make sure that clamps on properly by just tilting it backwards onto the battery. So this forward, and then just bring the this up here out the way for a moment. Make sure the battery is in position, and then we can get this bolt and we can try and put this, knock the microphone off there. I'm just going to clip this back on here for you guys. So once that's in there, we can take our 13mm, and of course we can just do the opposite now. Let's tighten this back down. What I do is once it's in, is just push the battery up slightly, and then you can tighten it down. So I've hand tightened that down. I'm now going to get the ratchet and come in here. Try and do this so you guys can still see. Not the easiest way to use a ratchet like this, but anyway, make sure this battery's clamped down nice and tight. The last thing you want in the event of an incident at the back of the car is for this battery to come loose and cause a fire, especially if you're trapped in the car in an accident. So if you're doing this, make sure that you do clamp your batteries down tight. Give it a little check, that's nice and solid. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is bring this back across This is our main battery positive. You can see there's a nice fuse here and another one here, and this distributes power from here to the rest of the car. So put this one in first, and we'll go with the 10mm to tighten this up. Just make sure that's nice and tight, and it is. The next one I'm going to put on is this 10mm here, and this just slides back on there like that, and just wind the 10mm. The nut itself is actually part of the spade terminal, if you like, that goes over the thread. It's all part of the same thing. I'll tighten that up. Again, nice and tight. That's in, making sure we don't trap any of these wires. And the next one, of course, we need to put on our main power feed into the car. So that's this one. Slide it on. Get the nut we had earlier. And the nut does go on one way only. You should be able to start it by hand. And then you don't need the extension for this. And just tighten this up the same way. Little nip. So all this now is nice and solid. Next thing we're going to have to do is to put this cover back on. Now this cover slots in to the bottom, and then it goes over, and there's clips on the side, 1, 2, 3, 4 clips. Then this just goes over the top, and that insulates all of those positive terminals, so there's no way they can short and arc across to the bodywork. Next thing to do, negative terminal. Push this down and on. And tighten this up, this 10mm. And that is how you change a battery on a Bentley Continental Flying Spur. This is a 2012 model. I'm sure it's the same on pretty much all the years leading up to around 2013. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up, and of course please subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate your support. Hit the bell icon if you want to be notified next time we upload a video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.